Chapter 4 is going to get us a little bit into the facilities. And this first slide is an interesting thing because companies can rent out the entire ship for a meeting. You have special events like a cruise with your favorite band or celebrities from one of your favorite movies or TV shows, and there's a pretty big, viable, profitable market for that, which is interesting. And I think the bigger point, again, is anything is a venue as long as it is what the client wants. And that needs analysis really speaks to what can and can't be done. We have this beautiful view of the ocean, and everybody wants to get married at this beautiful view of the ocean. Here's the problem. The facility can only take about 100 guests. And quite frankly, the fire code won't allow more than that. So again, it's what can you and can you not do, like we talked about before, becomes very important. For a hotel itself, depending on, of course, the size and the amenities that the hotel offers, but you have a bunch of different things. So, breakout rooms, I know I've mentioned this before, but again, just the fact that aside from the giant room where everybody's meeting or where the exhibit space is, various individual groups can meet. So if you're doing some education training or some things like that, it's probably important to have breakout rooms. Temporary structures, again, what can you and can you not do to the space? And that's very important. Everybody wants to put stuff on the walls and do all the stuff, and you're maybe not allowed to. Again, back to that contract with the guests. Pre-function space before it happens, like, hey, we all need to change clothes or we need to change outfits. It's a runway show, things like that you have to get into. So the financial structure, room charges, guest rooms, all these different things. So it may be a case where I say as a client, look, I just want my employees to show up and everything's taken care of. Or I want them to show up and I want you to have a room in their name, and they need to make sure that they need to put down their own credit card for incidentals, and the only thing that we're paying for is their room. Anything else they want in that room or via that room is on them. So that's something that needs to be worked out in advance. Again, food and beverage, space rental, vendor commissions, all these different things that have to kind of work within the hotel itself. I can rent you the space and put nothing in it and still make money, but I don't know that I'm going to let other food vendors come in, and you know the answer to this as I'm saying it, because they're taking revenue away from us. So, some people will, some people won't. If somebody wants to donate a bunch of wine for this party, then I want that to be the person that I deal with at my hotel that sells me wine. I don't want it to be someone else outside, because it's not a normal operation for us, and logistically it's not the greatest idea, and quite frankly it might tick off the people that I deal with normally. So you look at all this stuff and how it works. Attached to casinos, connection to theme parks, we talk about Orlando, we talk about attached to casinos down here, all these different things that go into it. We can accommodate your conference and give you a better rate if your conference is on Tuesday, Wednesday, as opposed to a Friday, Saturday. As you can think, that might work. Coordinating conflicting meetings. I can pretty much guarantee you in the area that we live in, or where we're located, that there are going to be multiple meetings going on at multiple, at the same facility, hotel, for example, at the same time. And this is where any of you that have been to a meeting, you start walking, you're like, I'm just following all these people. And you're like, you're following the wrong group. They're going to their meeting there. Your meeting's over here. Look, we want to take up as much of that space as we possibly can. So we want to have meetings going on at the same time. That's ideal for us, as long as we don't have conflicts. We have to make sure that it flows seamlessly. And the most important thing is our guests don't need to know. 2 weddings at the same time? You better believe it. Okay, and so who's going to the Johnson wedding and who's going to the Smith wedding? Very, very interesting. Convention centers, again, nowhere to sleep. They can offer a bunch of other services. The large flexible space is the key because we can make it look like just about anything you want, and we can control the flow. It's a standard for a large convention center is that you have aisles, and they're usually numbered. It can be 100, 200, 300, it's whatever they want to do. But it's basically a flow where you go up and down these aisles, and you're looking at various products or services or whatever is into it. And again, owned by cities, counties, or local governments. So we want to make sure that, whatever the convention is, that it appeals to a wide range of people in our area, that we're okay with it being owned by the city. So there may be some things that you turn away. It really just depends. But that flexibility of space and that largeness of space helps out, when you want to have more and more things going on at once. Yeah, most are fairly large. Some of them are insane how big they are. Built-in stages, and sometimes you look at, a separate room where former Surgeon General is going to speak, or, and this event, and it's a separate ticket, and there's a separate way to get in. You have to pay more money on top of the fee for registration for the convention to go see the former Surgeon General talk at this health conference. So again, it is what the space is for and how it's being used. Or someone's performing at a concert and you go, oh my gosh, she's performing at a concert. You'd be shocked at what kind of money these larger corporations will have to have well-known artists come in and perform just for them, for a new product rollout or an annual retreat. I think it's been $1 million for a guest, and they have needs. So you got to always look at that too. Largest convention centers in the world, you can see most of them overseas. The McCormick Center in Chicago is number 9. And as someone who's actually been to that, I haven't been to these other ones, but if you've been to the one in Chicago, I just can't imagine ones that are bigger than that. They're cities. They're massive, massive. And the first time I went, I told people this story all the time. I got in a cab and I said, I'm going to McCormick. And the cab driver laughed at me. And I said, why are you laughing? He's like, you need to be more specific than that. What part of McCormick are you going to? Because if I drop you off at the wrong part, you're going to be walking longer than a mile to get to the other part. That's the scope of these things. It's crazy. Again, some other ones that are up there. Vegas is always an interesting thing in that I had a friend who worked at the convention center in Las Vegas, and when they do the air show, they close down part of the strip. And the airplanes land on the runways, taxi to the strip, and they taxi into the convention center. They can open up doors to slide planes in there, which is just redonkulous, to be honest with you. And if you've never seen the Orange County Convention Center, been there a few times, that is definitely no slouch. It is a massive, massive facility. So again, rental fees for the space alone, catering services, like we said, and it's not unheard of to have within an event vendors that sell food. I tell the story. One of the events I used to go to in Chicago was North-South Weekend when they did interleague play and the Cubs and the White Sox played, and Budweiser built a sports bar inside the convention, so you could sit there and drink beer and watch the game. It wasn't like you could just get wasted, but they were giving away free beer. So, again, what are you looking for when you need these events? What is it that you're trying to do? Associations and consortiums that deal with meeting room spaces, again, just different types of things you can do in conjunction with what you're doing if you want to have some organizations involved, and that you can read about that. Cruise ships, like we said, the captive audience. Where else are you going to go? And those interesting little nuanced cruises for concerts or meeting people from Star Trek or whatever it's going to be, it's fascinating. And I think people need to understand it's not like you're going to hang out with Weezer while the cruise is going on and just lounge by the pool with them. But you're getting a concert with probably no more than 2,000 people. And all these events that are tied around it with like-minded people that like the stuff as much as you do. So again, specific use facilities, the sharing of technical equipment and reliability, all these things that factor into where you want to hold the event. So, American Airlines Arena in Miami can be a ballet one night, a concert the next night, and who knows what the night after that. So again, the things that are needed within there, most of those venues we know, just like for stadiums. So, Hard Rock is used for football. Hard Rock is used for concerts. Hard Rock is used for soccer. Hard Rock is used for any other kind of special event that happens. And so again, it's all there, and you don't need to bring anything in. Everything that you need for that type of event is located on site. We see this a lot for us from a university standpoint. When summertime comes around, we know that students are still there, but typically the population is lower. And so basically we're just looking for a way to rent out some space for people to have meetings. And look, if you need a boardroom or you need a classroom style thing, what better place than a university? So yeah, the food quality is not as high, and I know some students are looking at this and probably laughing when I say that, but what do you need to have happen for your group? What is it that you want? Our box lunch is going to be fine. A lot of meetings make a lot of money doing box lunches. Retreats, you can do a lot of, and some of you have probably seen this, and you're probably, shaking your head or rolling your eyes right now, like, a team building retreat. But they're still very popular. I used to work for a company that used to use the old YMCAs for team building, and our owner was so rich, he finally just said, why should I pay somebody else? And built a team building facility on his ranch with a challenge course and ropes and all these different things, because that, as a person, he believed that made his employees bond more. So, again, it depends on what you're trying to do and what kind of, and it's the anti-retreat, really. Then we look at some different things. Airplane hangars were big for runway shows and car things and things like that. Garages, parking garages. There's a very large event in Las Vegas. It's one of their largest events. It takes place in a parking garage, and I won't tell you what it is. This is a PG-13 presentation. But, just something that is different. And a lot of these companies with new product rollouts want to be different. Want to stand out as much for how they present the product as they're standing out for the product itself. Number one on that list is the big one, because you don't know, and you have to plan for it in case. And it's not to say that the rest of these aren't, because they're incredibly important, but rainy season, June weddings in South Florida. You may have a beautiful day, you may have a rainy day. What if it rains? And then, like we said, security and privacy. We don't want people to look in. We don't want people to see in. We don't want people to take pictures. We have to have people sign waivers that work the event, because famous people would be there, and we'll talk about that a little bit later and other things too. And then, of course, how do you get there? Sound, all those things are very, very critical, and it takes a lot of legwork to get that done. It seems pretty simple when you show up at the event until you realize what goes into it. Again, just the sheer scope of what constitutes an event now is anything and everything, and the more unique, the better. Some companies think. So, it's only limited by your imagination. Now, of course, on our end, it is, can it actually work?